Hi everyone, thanks so much for joining us today here at the Cambridge Union. It feels really surreal to be having this event in the first place, but very glad that Peggy accepted my invite. So I hope that all of you know who Peggy is, but for those of you that might not, Barrington Hendrick, artistically known as Jpegmafia, is an American rapper and producer from Baltimore, Maryland. Hendrick's work is highly original and experimental. He's one of the few artists that has seen, for the majority of his work, the projects from start to finish have been handled artistically by him. So all sides, production, vocals, mixing, beats, all of it. So a highly creative, highly talented individual in a music industry that increasingly puts out repetitive and lacking in substance work. So his work blurs genre, includes heavy sampling and digital distortion to create an incredible critically acclaimed body of work that ranges from Call Me Maybe remix to Darkskin Manson tape to the recently released Bald. So if you could all give it up for Peggy.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Such an honor.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, guys. This is so fucking formal. All right. What's up?
So we'll just dive straight into the interview section.
Yeah, I don't have no speech or nothing.
And then we'll move into audience questions. I'm sure that there are a lot of very interesting questions in the audience, so I'm keen to make sure that those get a chance to be heard. But I'd just like to start it by taking you back to the earlier part of your career and your journey as a whole.
Right.
So what motivated your decision to join the armed forces, serve in the Air Force, and what were you like around that time? What was life sort of like?
Yeah, I've actually never really spoken about this, but yeah, in high school, around the time I joined the Air Force, I was just very poor, and in the States, the Army recruiters, the military recruiters, they come to poor areas to recruit people like me, basically, who have no options. I didn't have money to go to college or really to do anything else, so my options were to stay where I was and just wither away and do whatever, or, I don't know, joining the military was the only option that made sense because I didn't have any really other, there's nothing else for me to do. I didn't have money to do anything else, so that's kind of my reasoning for joining originally. They came to my high school at the time, and I was in like ROTC. I don't know if y'all know what that is. It's like military class. It's weird, but they have it in some schools. But I was in ROTC, and they just walked in there, and they were like, "You want to join?" Like they just asked a bunch of poor ass niggas in the class, like, "You want to join?" And I was just one of the people that was like, "Yeah," because I didn't have anything else really lined up. So that's kind of how I ended up joining originally.
And during your time in the services, what was it like? What were the experiences like? Was it sort of exciting? Was it a tough time for you? Or?
It was terrible. It was the worst decision I ever made. But like, it was the worst decision and the best decision because I was able to buy music equipment. But yeah, it was terrible. Like, never join. I don't know what the military here is like, but don't ever fucking join the military, yo. It's not a good idea. It's very stressful. It's very it's dangerous as shit, and it's just not something I would think anybody needs to subject themselves to unless you just want to do that shit. I was not one of the people who wanted to do it. I joined because I have no other options. So me being in there with no options, I was just like, what the fuck did I just get myself into, kind of thing. But it was pretty terrible, and I hated it, and I don't like anybody I was in the military with. And sometimes they reach out to me, and I just tell them, fuck you, don't ever talk to me again. You know what you was like. You know what you did. Stay away from me. That's it.
But as you said, in some sense, some good did come out of it. So in the research, it came up that some of your earliest artistic work came from your time in the military. So the people you collaborated with,
yeah,
that you met then, as well as people that you collaborated with in Japan specifically, I think.
Yeah.
So do you mind sort of going into your artistic journey while you're serving in the armed forces?
In the military, I think anyone who's made music or even attempted rapping before, if you tell someone you're gonna rap or you wanna do music, they usually be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? It's not gonna work, et cetera, et cetera. So I didn't really talk to anybody about my musical aspirations in the military because it was kind of pointless. I was just in there with a bunch of like basic bumpkin ass motherfuckers who just wanted to like kill people and shit. You know what I mean? They're just stupid ass people. Like I don't really mean to make it like sound like that, but like these people were just like not like me. I didn't fit in with these people, so I had no reason to reveal any personal thing. Music is very like serious for me. So like there was no point. I didn't tell anybody really. I had like one friend who rapped with me, and he was also with me in Japan too. So like I told like one person, and we like made music together sometimes. But for the most part, I just made music in my own spare time, or like when I was deployed, I made music when I wasn't working. Yeah, I didn't tell anybody really what I was doing because there was no fucking point. Because anytime I ever mentioned anything dream-wise, aspirational, it was just like, no, you have to stay in the military. You're gonna fail if you get out the military. Like you're gonna die. You don't know what's out there, and blah blah blah. And it's just like, no, you know. So it was just pointless. You don't have to tell everybody your dreams because like most people don't fucking get it anyway. So just do your thing. That's what I did. So.
And what did music mean to you then? Was it something that you always had a sort of aspiration to getting involved with, or did it form a creative release or outlet for you while you're serving in the military?
I think it originally started as a creative release, and then it became like this desperate, like, I'm not good at anything else. This is the only thing I have. At some point when I was a teenager, I made a decision that I was just gonna like either make music. I was gonna die making music or just nothing else. I don't have any other aspirations. I don't wanna fucking be a vlogger. I don't wanna be a director. I don't wanna be none of this other goofy shit. I make music. That's what I do, and that's what I like, period. So like, I live in a world where making money from your music and it can't really happen like that. I can't make money from just music. That's why Jay-Z has to like have a billion businesses and shit, because he can't just make music from rapping. So like, I forgot the question.
I think we went
I'm kind of drunk and I'm pretending not to be. But yeah, what was the original question about that?
As in, what did music mean to you then?
Oh, yeah. So it just means everything. It just became a desperation thing. And it's still like that now. Like, it's the only thing I'm good at, and it's the only thing I care about. So that's really it. It was just a very desperate thing. there's no other redeeming qualities for me other than like my music. I have nothing else interesting really to tell other than like trauma and shit. But like everybody has trauma, you know? My music is the thing that makes me. It's the thing that like I live and die for. So that's really it.
So when you started out, who were your, I guess, early influences? Were there any people that you looked up to artistically at that point, with the sort of idea that you wanted to follow their path, or?
When I was like, you mean like my first musical influences, or this?
Yeah, your first musical influences.
So when I was really young, when I was really, really young, we were poor as shit, and I didn't really have access to music like that. The first music I ever got to hear, like that I owned, was this, I don't even know if you guys know this shit. It's this group called Hanson. Nobody knows? Okay. They had this, it was like a song from the 90s, it was like huge, and I just heard it on the TV, and I was like, I want that song. Like, I didn't know the context to it, I don't know what Hanson's fans are like, I just knew I liked that shit, and I was like, cool. I've always been like that with music from that day, pretty much. So that's probably, it's weird, but that's probably the first influence I had of music at all. And from there, I just kept discovering shit. I like, it was like the early 2000s. I was like 10, 11. So I was watching like, there's a channel, BET, and they used to have this show 106 in Park. And they would have like songs on there, videos. And I used to have a VHS. I would, on old VHS tapes, they have like a square thing at the top. You can pop that motherfucker out and put a piece of tape over it, and you can record over any VHS. So I did that, and I would just record music videos and just listen to them in my spare time, because I was just like, I love this shit. So from there, I just kept building musical influence. So that's how I found rap. and shit like that. So my biggest, earliest influences was probably Hanson.
Nice.
That's my biggest influences.
And I think a big part of your creative output is the fact that you take control or creative control over all of your musical output and all of your artistic output. So from start to finish, your hand has had a direct sort of influence in whatever sort of area of your music there is. So production, beat selection, beat making, vocals. So where did that sort of DIY approach come from? And why were you so keen to not sort of outsource any aspect, any of the mixing, any of the other stuff to other individuals?
Necessity. I couldn't afford it. I couldn't afford to get my shit mixed. I couldn't afford beats from people. I started out as a producer. I've been making beats since I was like 13 or 14. And when I was first making beats, no one liked the beats. To this day, I give people beats and they're just confused. So I stopped, I don't have time for that shit. Like, I have a vision for this shit and I want to get it done, and that's just it. I don't have time to dumb myself down for niggas if they don't really get it. It's whatever, you know what I'm saying? Move on to something else. There's other shit out there, go listen to that. So I started out as a producer, and I would give my beats to people and they would just be confused or they just didn't like it. So I kind of started rapping because no one liked my beats. So I liked the beats, so I just started doing it like that. And then the mixing and mastering, again, necessity. I gave my shit to mix and master. It was like $2,000 a song. I can't do that shit. I cannot afford that. So I was like, I'll just learn to do it myself instead of passing it off to some motherfucker who doesn't care about it, you know what I mean? I'm gonna take the time and dedication because I'm gonna do things, I'm gonna make mistakes and make crucial decisions that someone else will never do. So I have to take control of this out of necessity because when my shit is left in other people's hands, they fuck it up every time. So I noticed that when I was a teenager, basically. So that's what it came out of. I'm not trying to flex and be like, I can do this, I can do this. I had to do that shit. Otherwise, I would not even be here. You know what I'm saying? So that's, again, desperation.
Were you ever type beat producer? Did you ever put your type beats on YouTube or?
Nah, when I was first making beats, there was no, I don't think YouTube even existed when I first was making beats. So there was no tutorials or nothing. I just had to read the manual like a fucking, you know what I mean? Like it's the 90s or something. I had to just read the manual, look through everything. But it helped me out because I learned how to use pretty much I know how to use every DAW except Ableton, whatever it's called. But I just learned all of them because DAWs are instruments to me. So it's like learning a guitar.
Right.
So,
and I think that...
I don't know if y'all know what a DAW is. Oh yeah, it's a digital, it's like Fruity Loops or some shit. Like a digital audio workstation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think, for me at least, I think a lot of your career has intersected with this explosion in internet culture.
Yeah.
So I think for the last decade, the rise of forums such as Kanye to the proliferation of SoundCloud rappers, people making it big off YouTube videos, uploaded, such as Shekwez, who was here earlier this term. So what does the internet mean to you, and do you think you'd be the same artist without it? Do you think you would have made it creatively without the internet?
No, not at all. The internet is a big pool of information. The internet is like having access to everything all at once. Back in the day, when I was very young, if I wanted to get access to a song, I had to go find that shit physically. You know what I mean? I couldn't just look it up on the internet. Now, if I want to learn, if I don't know anything about The Cure, I can learn everything about The Cure in a week and be a fucking hardcore Cure fan. You know what I'm saying? That's the beauty of the internet. All the information is there. It's a place where information just sits. So that's the way I feel like it should be utilized. It doesn't move without people, you know what I mean? People are just putting things in there. So the internet functions like an encyclopedia to me. I just use it to source information, which everyone else does it too. It's not it's just that people don't say it outright. They don't really say it. Some people still think the internet is I don't know. I don't know what people think the internet is, but I think it's a pool of information, personally. So you can just pull anything from it.
And in other interviews, you've touched on how the internet has directly manifested itself in your creative output, particularly Veteran. So in an interview with Anthony Fantano, you mentioned
Fuck
how...
that nigga. I'm joking. I'm joking.
I got a question on that later as well, but come to it in a bit. But in that interview, you mentioned that Veteran, a lot of it was you trying to express, I guess, internet culture or your perception of the internet musically. So how did that come about? How do you sort of go about taking this rich pool of information, as you say, and pushing it into a 12, 15-track album?
I think all my favorite artists are really good at compressing and presenting complicated ideas in a way that's digestible. It's very accessible and like can be easily understood. So I just tried to do that. There was a lot of things I was learning and doing at the time, and I just tried to compress it all into one thing and just present it in a way that people could just understand like quickly. So that's really it. But like when I was actually making it, I made Veteran over the course of like a year. So when I was originally making it, I wasn't even trying to make an album. I made like 120 songs and I just picked whatever from that. That's how I make music. I just make a bunch of shit and I pick whatever I like, really. That's the best way for me to work, personally. So I think presenting complicated ideas in a simple way is something I want to try to like master, and that's what I was trying to do with Veteran. I was attempting to like be a Kanye West, because he's excellent at that. He's really good at presenting like complex things in a way that like you can like bump it in the club or something like that. I think that's genius. So yeah.
And what does that project mean to you now?
Veteran?
Yeah.
It's weird. When I originally made it, nobody cared about me at the time, so I watched people not care, and then say that Veteran was whack and didn't understand it. And now it's like some weird the perception now is like it's some legendary album or some shit. Me personally, I don't give a fuck. Like, I made the shit and I'm over it. But like, it's just funny watching the perception switch over and over, and like the music hasn't changed. Like the snares ain't no different. The kicks ain't no different, right? The fucking synth's all the same, but it's like the way people think of you, that's how they perceive the music eventually. So when Veteran was originally released, niggas was like, what is this stupid shit? You know what I'm saying? Oh, this is some goofy internet shit, blah, blah, blah. And now I see some of those same people like putting it on decade year-end lists, and I'm just like, where? When did that happen? Y'all don't even, when I originally talked to you when Veteran was out, you niggas didn't even like me. How is this one of the best albums of the decade now, you know? So it's like, it's almost like a cynical, like, whatever. But for me, all my albums and my songs are like my kids or some shit like that. So like I have my meaning to them already. So by the time I release it, I've already like thought everything I need to think about it. So by the time I release it to the public, I'm over it. I'm good. So like I've let it go. But it's just interesting to watch because I've seen it happen to other people, but watching it happen to me is just hilarious because it's just like a lot of these, I don't know, decade year-end list and shit. I'm just like, where the fuck did that come from? But I appreciate all of it, but it's just funny watching it switch in real time, I guess, is what I'm saying.
And sort of following on from that, what do you make of, I guess, the almost cult-like following you've developed over the years?
I love it.
I think it's fair to say that your fan base is manifestation of the people that spend hours on the internet looking for that correct song that really resonates with them, or spends their time just really like diving into or getting lost in music online. So what is your sort of relationship with your fan base and I guess your internet-based following?
I guess my relation to it is there's a mutual respect for the time and effort I put into the thing that I think, there's a time and effort I put into my music that I think is appreciated by my fans, and I appreciate that because my whole life nobody appreciated it. So like to have people appreciate it on a wide scale, it's fire. You know, it's like the best thing ever. It's like getting validation for something for your most personal thoughts or something. It's the best thing I could possibly think of, and it pays bills, so it's good.
What's the craziest, I guess, fan interaction that you've ever had? Has anyone come out at a show and said something?
No, people just walk up to me and say shit like, oh, you look like MC Ride or something. They don't even say it. Like, they're so pussy about it. They come up and they're like shaking and scared. It's like, I don't care, nigga. You really think I'm gonna slap you because you call me MC Ray? I don't fucking care. You know what I'm saying? But like, nah, usually it's just shit like that. Just trolly ass, like, I'm just gonna say some dumb shit in front of JPEG because whatever. But nah, there was this one dude who looked like he had like the clap or some shit. He had like hella like bumps on his face. And he walked up to me and he was like, where do you live? And that's probably the weirdest shit. And I pushed that nigga away from me. I was like, get away from me. That's probably like, you know what I'm saying? I guess like when I get like weird people like that are trying to probably really pushy, I just like try to stop that shit immediately. So I don't even play around with it. So it doesn't happen too often. But when it does, whatever.
And you've just come off the back of your 4th show in London, which was yesterday.
Yeah, Earth.
What is your approach to doing sort of live shows? Do you have a particular like philosophy or thought process that goes into putting on a performance, or do you try to develop with those live sets that you do?
I take you paid the money to come see me, right? So I come out there, and my thing, I don't come out there with the intention of being like, I'm gonna make this the best show possible. My thing is always, I'm gonna give it 100% no matter what. If I'm tired, if I feel like I can't do this shit, I'm just gonna go out there and kill myself because these people who came to the show could have just listened to this shit at home for free. You know what I'm saying? So like, if they came out and paid money and are that dedicated, I want to leave it all on the stage. So there's no backing tracks, there's no nothing. It's just beats and rhymes. The most hip hop shit, period. No DJ, nothing. Me, you can touch, like, I'm on stage, I'm in the crowd, whatever. I just want to be as close to the fans as possible because it's one of the rare instances where you get to interact directly with people. So like, my approach is just give 110% no matter what, and that's it. If it's a bad show, whatever. If it's a good show, cool. I have no opinions on it, and people, they paid their money, they can do whatever they want as long as they don't like hit me. Good.
As someone who's been to one of your shows, I think the crowd is pretty interesting, to say the least. I think you also, the show that I went to.
Which one was it?
It was the one at Scala.
Okay, yeah.
You often have chants going on with the audience that have political themes or artistic themes. I think you probably know the sort of chants that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So what informs those chants and sort of bouncing back off that? What makes you include those sort of themes within your music? For example, your comments on Morrissey and.
Okay. So the Morrissey, I'm actually glad you asked me that. So the Morrissey thing. So here's the thing. My original point with Morrissey, and I'm gonna answer the original question too. My original point with Morrissey was that I watched all these corny hipster pitchfork ass niggas like excuse everything this nigga did for years. He said all this fucked up weird shit. Nobody cared. They're like, the music's too good. And I wanted to point out the hypocrisy because they don't do that with other people. Like if other people's music's not that good, they're like, nah, you're problematic. But it's just like, is that the bar, right? I'm just asking. I did that song to make a point. Like, is that the bar? Like, if your music is good, can you just like say Chinese people are a subspecies? Is that cool? You know what I'm saying? I'm genuinely asking, but it's like a rhetorical question because it's not cool, but that's what they're doing. I'm just trying to make them realize their own hypocrisy. That's what I was trying to do with the Morrissey thing. I just do it in like, I do it in a very extreme way because these people aren't smart. So you can't explain it to them like that, so you have to present it in a very stupid way. So I just put it, I cannot wait till Morrissey dies. Hopefully you get the point now. You know what I'm saying? Like, there you go. I'm just gonna say it because like, nobody else wants to, and it's just like, to me, I just like to like point out hypocrisy, especially from hipsters, because they're fake and they have no basis for anything. So I love doing it because when you really break down one of these hipster niggas and find out what their like foundation is, it's nothing. Every time. So that's really all it is. Like with the Morrissey thing specifically, it was like, I don't understand why he can do this and nobody else can. Now, he wore like a pin on the fucking show and people were like, oh, he's racist now. But it's just like, nigga, he been like that. a pen made you realize that? You know what I'm saying? Fuck that shit. But like, wait, what was your original question? My bad.
As in, do you try to include political themes within your shows, try to rile the audience up to get them to maybe educate them, or? I think you've sort of answered the question in a way.
Not really. I have my own intentions, and I know for a fact my art is going to be misinterpreted every time, usually, or like people won't get the point. But when people do get the point, it's so satisfying. It's like, yeah, you really got it. But yeah, most people are just like, they take it at face value because they're dumb as shit. So, but that's the point. That's why like my titles are like that. It's supposed to like, I don't know. It's supposed to be like, if you read it and you take it at face value, it's just like, you don't really listen to the music, you know what I'm saying? Because my thing is, the music is the most important thing to me, so I don't fucking care what the title is. So I'll name it whatever. And yeah, I don't intentionally do anything really. I'm into politics, and I'm into all the things I talk about, so like, I just present it in the way I want it to be presented. And there's no way to control how people think of your art, so I know it's gonna be misinterpreted, and it's fine.
To sort of go back to some of the earlier themes we were talking about, what would be the artists that are your biggest sort of creative influences at the moment? So you talked about artists that were your first inspirations. Who would you say you look up to the most now, or you're most eager to work alongside? Or who do you think is really pushing the envelope at the moment?
Like artists that are really pushing the envelope right now?
Yeah.
There's a lot. Like Denzel, Slow Tie, Injury Reserve, people like this. People that are in like kind of my lane, they're all pushing the envelope in some way, shape, or form. Thankfully, rap is like the biggest genre now, so like that shit on the fringes can like get some mainstream recognition. But my biggest influence, it's probably not cool to say, but it's Kanye West. That's just it. He's the best. He's the absolute best to me. He's the best. Kanye West is the best person at making a final product. Every one of his final products changes niggas' lives. College Dropout, Late Registration, Graduation, 808s, Dark Twisted Fantasy. He's the best to me. To me, he's the bar, personally, like just all time. My favorite artist of all time. That's probably my biggest influence. But I have many, many influences. I take little things from whoever. But Kanye West, musically, as an idea, Kanye West is that nigga. Like, he really is that dude. Like, if you really look back, this nigga dropped College Dropout, classic. Late Registration, classic. Graduation, classic. He could have just stopped. Then he did 808s. Then this nigga dropped Dark Twisted Fantasy. And then he could have just stopped. Then he did Yeezus. What is wrong with this nigga? You know what I'm saying? Like, he's crazy. He's the best, yo. He's the absolute best. And then he dropped Life of Pablo, too. I love that shit, too. Like, his final products, he's excellent at editing things down, so I look up to him a lot.
Well, which project out the ones you've named would you look to as the biggest, I don't know, your favorite in some way?
From him?
Yeah.
I'd probably say either Dark Twisted Fantasy, Yeezus, or Life of Pablo is my favorite ones of him. Probably Dark Twisted Fantasy, because I listened to it when Dark Twisted Fantasy came out. I was in should I tell this story? Yeah. I was in the military, and I had to escort someone to a psych ward because they tried to, they pulled a knife on one of the officers. So I had to escort him to a psych ward, and I had to stay in the psych ward with this guy. And Dark Twisted Fantasy dropped, that day, and I was just listening to it in a psych ward, like, what? I was like, what? It blew my fucking mind, yo. So I don't think anything he does can replace that, just because of the time and moment I was in. I was 20, and yeah, it changed my life. So,
to sort of turn the earlier question on its head, are there any rappers or artists that you look at and say that is just highly unoriginal work, or that work contributes nothing?
Trying to get me to beef with people?
Yeah.
I mean, not really. I don't pay attention to what these niggas do. They're all lame and corny to me. Most of the time when I'm around other rappers, either A, they don't know who the fuck I am anyway, or they're just a very stereotypical rapper ass nigga. They're very about themselves and blah blah blah. I'm a very down to earth person, so I can't even interact with that fake ass shit. So I don't pay attention to nothing that these niggas are doing really. I like who I like, and I just keep it moving really.
Where do you see the
fucking arm is itching?
Where do you see hip hop going in the next 5 years? So I think over the last 5 years moved to this really trap-focused,
Yeah.
lyrically dire landscape of hip-hop.
My man said lyrically dire.
But where do you think it's going for the next 5 years? What would you like to see happen?
Me personally, I would just like to see more people like Injury Reserve get like spotlight in mainstream and more elements of that creep into the mainstream. Because there's a way that you can do that. There's a way you can like make shit like experimental per se and still make it like catchy. I think there's a way, and there's like it takes a certain skill to do. And I would like to see that more. I see it like bits of it here and there, but like, I guess that's the most thing I would like to see more, but I'm not like the overseer of rap, so it's just gonna do whatever it wants. It don't really matter what I think. What I want to happen, I'll try to make happen myself personally, but I can't control what other niggas do. But if ideally, yeah, I would like to see that. More like just risk taking. Even if it's bad, just take a risk. Do it. Why not? You know? Make a song with no snare. Yeezus, they have no snare on any song till like the 4th track. Crazy.
Focusing that question onto you and sort of your journey, what can we expect from you as an artist in the coming years, and indeed later this year? You released Bald last week.
Yeah.
What does that mean for the rest of this? Can we expect an album? Or?
My niggas with the receding hairlines that, oh, no, y'all got good heads of hair. That's terrible. Nobody got rid. All y'all are young, that's why. What happened? What'd you say in my bad?
Are you like planning on releasing an album? Is Bald indicative of things to come, or?
Yeah, Bald is like the first strike in like I'm just gonna be doing whatever the fuck I want this year. This year, my intention is to take shit away from. I try to do the little, release the album the proper way and do all the little music industry shit, and it's just it's stupid and it's annoying and it doesn't lend itself to artists. So for me, I'm stripping that away and taking it straight to the fans. I'm gonna make shit, and if I want to put it out, I'll just put it out straight to the fans. Period. So like that's my intention. Ball was like the first test of that. I was like, I just made this, put it out. So since people seem to like that, I'm gonna keep doing it. That was my intention anyway. But like, yeah, that's my intention for this entire year is to stay as close to the fans as possible through the music, through like whatever else I'm doing. Yeah.
So I think I'll just wrap up with one final question before we open it to the audience.
Oh, shit.
I just have to ask myself, is Bald a Fantano diss track?
Nah. Wait, so hold on. So people keep messaging me and asking me this. Why do people think it's a Fantano diss track? I'm so confused. When I made it, I was not thinking of this nigga at all. I'm literally bald. So I'm confused why people think it. So what is the reason? Does he think I dissed him? Like what's going on?
I think he's just memeing on Twitter.
Oh, he's probably just memeing.
But
okay.
I think just people on Twitter just saw Bald, saw that you've done an interview with Fantano and just connected the dots. I don't know. I just saw this on Twitter and I just thought like worth asking.
That's mad weird. That doesn't even.
This is your fan base though.
I know. It's funny because like sometimes my fans will like connect shit that don't even make sense. I'm just like, no. But no, it's not a diss track to Fantano. I would never diss Fantano on wax, yo. That's so weird to me. Like I wouldn't. Nah, I would if he like. You know what I'm saying? Like if he did some weird shit, I would. But like. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't hate this dude. Like, I don't dislike this guy. Like, he's fine. You know what I mean? He does his thing. I didn't diss him, period.
Okay, sweet. Cool.
That's all I got to say about that, I guess.
Clear that up for Twitter.